Right? So then I just went ahead and jumped. I grabbed a tree branch, and then I was able to land safely from there. And then right when I landed, of course, they came around the corner. Nobody saw it. It's phenomenal. Anyways, I'm Mike.
I'm Jim.
And this is Fanboy and the Hater.
Podcast about the best and worst in movies, TV, and pop culture.
Jim, what's the bizarro version of you like?
A really cool guy who has a great body and is really popular with the ladies.
Sounds accurate. So in preparation for Supergirl, we decided to revisit Superman. Not the good one, but the newest one, 2025 Superman. Jim, what'd you think?
We saw it in the theaters in 2025, and then I saw it for the second time last night in preparing for this podcast. I don't think it's a terrible movie, but it is terrible at executing its ideas. And we'll get into some of the specifics. But the bottom line for me is I simply did not enjoy this movie either time I watched it. What did you think, Mike?
Yeah, the first time through it, I hated it. I thought it was absolutely terrible. But we weren't watching it for the podcast. We were just enjoying it. This time, watching it for the podcast and kind of looking at it in different aspects, I realized, it's really not a bad movie. It's actually got a lot of really good elements to the movie. It's just not enjoyable. And as I sit and try to think about why it's not enjoyable, I can't really figure it out. It's just not good.
It's an interesting point you make that when we saw it in the theaters last year, we were not podcasting. So I also went to the movie just to enjoy it. And I've heard lots of people say, this is a great movie to turn off your brain and just enjoy it. And I also had a very negative reaction to it in the theaters because I was watching it just to enjoy it, and I did not. And last night when I was looking at it in preparation for the podcast, to your other point, I saw and gave a little bit of credit to, okay, I see what they were trying to do. Like at a high level, the concepts and the creative decisions that were made about this movie are not bad. It's just like the execution of those ideas were just not good to me.
So in taking my notes, and I'm just going to run through them really quick.
Go for it.
My notes, normally I kind of call out specific things to talk about in my notes. And this time I don't know why. Just right at the beginning, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go with what was good about it, what was annoying about it, and what was bad about it.
Okay.
To start off, my goods. The actor that played Superman did not do a bad job playing Superman. He did okay. Lex Luthor's actor, Nicholas Hoult, did a really good job portraying Lex Luthor for what he was given. Lois Lane, fabulous. I love that actress. She's one of my favorite. I hope she continues to be in everything.
You mean the marvelous Ms. Lane?
I do. Mr. Terrific was really good. Hawk Girl was really good. Guy Gardner was just as annoying as he's supposed to be. He played the part almost perfectly. The cinematography was great. It looked fantastic. The coloring, the shots, the angles, a lot of it looked really cool. It had a lot of good use of characters and references from the rest of the universe that aren't normally used. And Superman in particular, I do really like that they took care to show him trying to save absolutely everyone and everything.
Even a squirrel.
People, squirrels, dogs, the bad guys, even continuously trying to save the villains. So there's a lot of good things there, but you notice most of those good things were the actors.
Yes.
Did a good job playing the parts that they were given.
I disagree with that a little bit, but continue.
The things I found annoying, and this got me the first time, and it got me just as much the second time, I hate how they portrayed Ma and Pa as just bumbling country buffoons. Drives me nuts. I hated the writing for the Justice Gang. Just the way that those dynamic works and how everything, the writing for them, the lines that they were given, everything. I hated number 4, Gary, the robot.
Yep.
Absolutely ridiculous to have them have a personality like that.
I thought 22 was better. That's the other robot at the end. When Gary gets his name and he's 4 and he gets his name as Gary, the other robot is 22.
Oh, gotcha.
Presumably because all of the other ones had been destroyed earlier in the movie. Sorry for interrupting you. Continue.
It's all good. Eve, the Lex's girlfriend.
Mutant Toes?
Yes, Mutant Toes. Found her incredibly annoying, which you're supposed to. You're supposed to find her annoying, but I found it more not annoying in the way she's supposed to be annoying. I found it annoying in a convenient plot point annoying.
Oh, incredibly convenient plot point.
Bad. I hated the Anakin Skywalker villain.
The Anakin Skywalker villain?
Yeah, when Ultraman takes off his mask.
Oh, okay.
That's all I could think of was Anakin Skywalker when he takes off
okay.
his mask.
Now I understand the reference. I was like, who's Anakin Skywalker?
I thought the engineer was a dumb character.
It would have been funny if Hayden Christensen was underneath the mask.
It would have been great. I honestly almost thought it was the first time.
So I'm sorry, you thought the engineer was just a stupid character?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know. Maybe she is from the comics. I'm not sure. I don't read a lot of Superman comics anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Crypto, absolutely hated Crypto.
Oh, yes.
That is not Crypto.
No.
Peacemaker cameo, Ultraman in general, even though just the Anakin Skywalker of it, but just that character did not work for me. Most of the dialogue, and I don't know if we'll get to it or not, but the Supergirl cameo, absolutely hate.
What's your problem, bitch?
Right? Exactly. So those were pretty much all of my notes.
And that's a wrap on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is normally, like, it's a bunch of things to talk about, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about any of those things. That's the tough part. Like when we talked about doing this episode, it's like, it'll be easy to tear that apart.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be easy to talk about a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I get done watching and I sit down. And I'm like, all right, what do I actually want to talk about? I'm like, I don't even want to talk about this thing.
Most of my feedback is more about the idea of the movie and the concepts in the movie, and not so much the movie itself. Usually, when I watch a movie, especially when I rewatch a movie for the podcast, it takes me a really long time because I'm pausing all the time and I'm stopping and scribbling notes. I watched the watched the whole thing straight through without hitting pause once and took zero note.
Which is crazy because you usually pause a lot to stop and reflect on things and everything.
Yeah, it usually takes me 4 or 5 hours to watch a 2-hour movie.
Which is why he's so much smarter than me when we're talking about things, because he's actually thought about it.
Or also, on the negative side, why I tend to ramble too much, because I spent too much time thinking about things, because I paused it so much. I did not do it on this. I only wrote down notes after the movie was over, just so I wouldn't forget to bring something up. So let's just go through, like I said, I think at a high level, like I said earlier, I think the ideas of this movie and some of the story, on paper, when they were coming up, was what is this movie going to be about? I think some of those ideas were good. And I think the first challenge, whether this was intentional or not, Zack Snyder's version of the DC universe was dark and gritty. I think they wanted to pivot away from that. Mm-hmm. And they chose to go more in a campy, poppy, colorful, hopeful direction, which is not a bad idea. But I think was part of James Gunn, and I love how you put down in our notes, Super Gunn, decided to approach Superman in a way that was different. Whether he was just trying to differentiate himself from Zack Snyder or not, I don't know. Because both Zack Snyder and James Gunn know the comics really well. So they both understand the character of Superman. But did you really feel the Gunness of it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We're going to talk about humor Gunn later, because there's a whole category of that. But just in general,
he's got a very distinct feel to it. I do agree that Superman is supposed to be bright and hopeful. And I actually got that out of the Snyderverse from the character, believe it or not.
Okay.
This one, the movie being brighter doesn't make the character brighter and more hopeful. It's in the character itself. Again, I do like the way that they made the character more caring, more doing anything to save everybody. Because that's, as I think we talked about it quite a bit in our Superman episode, is the whole point of the character is how do I save everybody, knowing that I can't save everybody.
Yeah, our episode on Superman was actually you and guest host Reese, who did a great job of talking about the character of Superman and those type of challenges. But it seemed to me is like you had mentioned the cinematography, it's definitely a lot brighter.
Yeah.
Than just more colorful than
even the anti-proton river, because that makes sense.
So there was definitely, I think, an intention of James Gunn to try to put his own spin on this, because he's rebooting the entire DC universe. Obviously going to have a different look and feel. And as we go through some of the other things, I think in some cases that works positively. In other cases, it works negatively. We've mentioned in the past on the podcast, long before James Gunn was handed the keys to DC, that he seems to do really well with superheroes or characters no one cares about. Give him the Suicide Squad. Give him Guardians of the Galaxy. Give him Peacemaker. who gives a fuck if he screws those characters up? No one cares. Having him in charge of DC and then starting with Superman, in my opinion, a lot more eyes are on this. For people who care to view the movie this way, a lot more eyes are on it to see what he does with it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, who cares what you do with Peacemaker? Who cares what you do with the Suicide Squad? In my opinion.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, there's things that he's done that have angered me as a comic book fan because, to your point, who cares? Because they're characters that nobody knows, but some people do know those characters. And they are good characters if you do them right. It almost feels like he doesn't actually understand the characters the way they're written. He understands them the way he wants. He interprets them. And maybe that's a problem with me interpreting the characters wrong in my readings of them.
I think he understands because we're going to get into, it's kind of hard not to drift into this, talking about the character of Superman and the challenges associated with it. I think he does understand the character, but what he chooses to do with that understanding, I think he feels like he needs to put his own stamp on it, and maybe that takes it off in another direction.
That could be.
Could be part of the issue. So one of the things that is a common criticism of all Superman stories is Superman is usually so overpowered that he's difficult to write for because he just so easily vanquishes the challenge, beats the villains, and it's just basically a boring story because once Superman shows up, the threat is over.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted to try to do a slightly different spin on that. And they may have went a little bit too far because, like, right from the very opening frames of the movie, 3 minutes ago, Superman lost his first fight. And pretty much for almost the entire movie, Superman gets his ass kicked almost the entire movie. So again, the idea of trying to come up with a story where Superman is just not so overpowered that he easily defeats everything, good idea. Executing that into a Superman that spends 2 hours getting his ass kicked, weird thing. There were other aspects of Superman, but let's just talk about that one first. The power level of Superman in this movie.
Yeah, and I mean, the comic books have addressed it by just introducing a lot of different characters that are equal power or more powerful or whatever that they could have chosen. But so many other media have already used most of those characters so frequently.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just trying to get away from it. So we used this one, which kind of worked, kind of didn't. I'm going to go back a little bit. So one of the movies that I actually a Superman movie I like a lot, and most people absolutely hate, is Superman Returns.
Okay.
With Brandon Routh. Not just because he's from here.
From here, meaning from Iowa.
Yeah. That movie, one of the reasons people hated it so much is like, oh, the villain is a real estate scam. But you know what? That's a way of taking away, like, Superman wins in brawn all the time. Take away the brawn. What is the challenge that he actually has to overcome? The challenge he has to overcome is Lex being incredibly smart, having the scam, having a way that is going to make himself more powerful while getting rid of Superman at the same time.
Does Lex scream, brains beats brawn, hundreds of times like he does in this movie?
No, he does not.
I'm going to get to this screaming match ending later, but yeah, I understand your point about that. From what I remember of it, it was interesting because it was a different story, because it was Superman had left Earth to try to find Kryptonian remnants and then came back to Earth 5 years after Earth without Superman for 5 years. It was further down the road from where typical Superman stories would be.
Well, and I think people were confused too because it was actually supposed to be a continuation of Christopher Reeve's Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people understood that. So it was like, seemed so abrupt the way it started. I think people were confused by that. But we're not here to talk about that movie. Well, I was just using that as an example of, like, one of the challenges of writing Superman is, like, what does he have to get over? What does he have to clean up? I remember there was one episode, I think it was in the animated series or one of the animated movies, where, you know, Batman comes up to Superman and he's in a laboratory in his fortress. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm still trying to cure cancer and I can't quite figure it out. It's like, that's one of the things that Superman does. Like, people think of him as being the dumb brawn guy. It's like, no, he's actually incredibly intelligent and is trying to work on other things besides just beating things up.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of stories you can tell, but when you're just focused on the power levels, how do you do that? How do you not have to create a character that just kicks the shit out of him in order to write a story?
I agree. And one of the other challenges of writing Superman stories, which again, at a high level, I thought it was an interesting thing to approach. Since one of the things I don't like about DC movies is we keep recasting Superman and Batman and going back to the beginning and start it all over again. So they made a decision. It's like, we're not going to see the origins of him arriving from Krypton and being raised in Kansas. We're going to get that in flashbacks at the end of the movie. So he's already here. and he's been Superman for 3 years. So we're not going to see the early adventures of Superman. We're jumping into, he's 3 years in to his tenure as the number one superhero on Earth. And the other thing is, well, what about the Lois into Clark / Superman thing? Does she know he's Superman? Is Clark trying to hit on? Blah, blah, blah. No, we're just going to jump ahead to Lois already knows that Superman is Clark, and they've been dating for 3 months. Again, at a high level, it's like, oh, okay, cool. You want to save a lot of screen time so you don't have to have wasted or rather maybe underwhelming scenes of what was it like when he first became Superman and what was it like before Lois figured out that he was Superman. But by jumping ahead, one of the side effects of that, not to jump around a little bit, is a lot of the Clark Kent is I have some other Superman challenges to it, but one of the byproducts of making that decision is a lot of the Clark Kent is taken out of the movie.
You also lose a lot of the character development. Character at the end of the movie is the same as the character at the beginning.
That's one of my major problems with it, especially since the end of the movie tries to make it seem like, oh, I'm a superhero essentially because I'm Clark Kent, but you took Clark Kent out of the movie. Because he tries to make it like it's all about his humanity and the influence of his adoptive parents over his biological parents. But they took all of that out of the beginning of the movie and just crammed it into there's a whole bunch of things wrong with the ending of the movie. But yeah, you're right. That all gets pushed out. So you miss all of that at the beginning of the movie when you first meet the character.
But Lois looks at his posters in his bedroom.
Again, that's later in the movie when he's recuperating on the Kent farm. But I mean, we only really even get one Clark Kent scene. He's the mild-mannered reporter in like one brief scene at the Daily Planet, and that's it. And then even like and then we find out that Lois and Superman are dating, and they go back to her house, and he's like making like a 3-month anniversary meal. Then Lois interviews Superman, and this brings in one of the other challenges of writing for Superman. If you have a superhero that is this powerful, he's going to, we'll talk about the envy of Lex Luthor in a minute, but just in general, having someone who is that powerful is just going to naturally make people uncomfortable. Like, who's basically providing oversight to this incredible, powerful person who can do whatever he wants? Because that's the other thing that the movie starts with, is the conflict that the movie begins with is 3 weeks before the beginning of the movie, Superman stops a war from happening. So not like fighting this supervillain or stopping a meteorite from falling on Earth or something like that. There was a war that was about to happen. He goes there and he stops it from happening. And Lois is interviewing him about it, and he's basically a fucking dick. He's like, yeah, what's the big deal? I didn't kill anybody. Hardly anybody got hurt. Sure, I smashed up some tanks and some planes. And yeah, I grabbed the world leader and I flew him out to the desert and I pressed him against a cactus and said, don't do that again. You don't want me to have to come back here. And Lois is like, you think that was a good thing? Of course it was a good thing. He was going to kill people. I did the right thing. He's like a fucking asshole. But the good part of it is like, his acknowledging the fact is like, we'll come back to the Lex Luthor thing in a second. Wouldn't the world, and again, in the movie, the world was like, whoa, dude, okay, stop a supervillain, but go stop a war? Aren't you kind of crossing the line?
And I like how she called out, like, so you tortured him until he stopped.
Exactly. And he's like, no, I didn't. Like, it's like, and again, there's no Clark Kent in that scene either. He's a super dick in that scene. There's no humanity. He's like, I can do whatever the fuck I want. But again, good idea in the sense of the other problem about writing a Superman story. It's like, wouldn't people be just as likely to be afraid of him as hail him as a hero?
Mm-hmm.
Which they then immediately pile on top of that, the idea of, oh, the message from his Kryptonian parents is translated, and he was sent to Earth to conquer us and create a harem so he can spread his Kryptonian DNA. Which is the other Superman being afraid of Superman thing from the comics and Superman stories of, this is an alien who could, if he wanted to, take over the world.
Which they never roll that back either. And I'm curious on the future, how they're going to roll that back and say, like, no, that's not actually what they said. It was a mistranslation or something.
And they go out of their way in the movie to say that it was definitely not a mistranslation. And James Gunn has repeatedly said in interviews, oh, no mistranslation. that's why he was sent to Earth. And I don't want to jump ahead.
Oh, now I hate it even more.
Right. So James Gunn said, yeah, because at first they were like, oh, maybe it's a mistranslation. And Mr. Terrific repeatedly says in the movie, nope, it's been verified. That's definitely what happened. And Gunn has said so in interviews. But to your point, and this is one of the many reasons why the movie was really bad for me, is it was good that it wasn't great the way that they introduced all this stuff, but they put these serious table stakes at the front of the movie and nothing is done with it at the end. Everything is Lex Luthor's fault. He was the bad guy. We stopped him. Yay, we love Superman again. The two things that were right off the top of the movie are still a problem. And Superman still shows no remorse, learned no lesson, and it's like, yep, I just do whatever the fuck I want. But again, I'm jumping ahead to, it's not the only reason that the end of the movie is bad. But again, at the high level, I gave the movie credit for putting a lot of these challenges of writing a Superman story into the story and loading it all up front. And then it just goes downhill as the movie progresses because they don't really do anything with those ideas. It becomes, oh, all of that extra time that we freed up, we'll just throw jokes and other shit in there, but we'll never actually come back. Again, I think it is a reflection of an acknowledgement by James Gunn. He does understand the character and understands the comics, but he didn't do anything with that story.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I never even really, big surprise. I never thought about it in that depth.
I have more to say, but go ahead about this.
Go ahead.
Because
now I'm still processing it.
Because when that video about him being here to conquer us, the Justice Gang, which we'll get to, Guy Gardner, which thankfully I love Green Lantern. Thankfully it was Guy Gardner, because if you're going to have a Green Lantern that I don't like in the movie, make it be the douchebag Green Lantern. So Guy is good. But Guy gets all up in his face. It's like, dude, if that video is real, that's like why the Green Lantern Corps sent me to Earth, is to stop shit from that from happening. Not only does that not come back at the end of the movie, you're fucking partnered with Hawkgirl. Her fucking entire race, the Thanagarians, that's what they do. They literally are aliens who go from planet to planet and fucking conquer them. You don't have any fucking problem with that. Not to mention the fact that why, of all the problems that people have with Superman, they should have the same fucking problems with the Justice Gang. Guy Gardner is human, but he got his powers from an alien. Hawkgirl is an alien from a race of conquerors. Why does no one have the same fucking problems with the Justice Gang? They just don't, and the entire thing is dropped at the end of the movie. Again, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around.
Point, set, match.
There are other problems with the ending, but this is why the movie frustrated me so much so far. It's like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're going to do something with this. And then as the movie went on, I was like, you're not doing anything with this?
Yeah, they set it up for just like the inner turmoil of Superman, but they never actually do anything external with it. They just set it up and leave it.
They ignore the inner turmoil of Superman, and they also ignore Superman's not a good guy. Oh, yeah, he is. I'll come back to the ending, but that's the part of there were other problems that stumbled about the beginning of the movie, but to me, the movie at least had a chance to be good, and if there was a better third act, it might have at least been okay, but those were some of my big problems in terms of the challenges of Superman in the absence of Clark Kent.
Yeah, no, those are all really good points, and most of my problems were just about dialogue lines, but I guess to your point, and I think that's often a problem that I end up having with James Gunn, is he writes movies to be entertaining, but he doesn't ever actually really write a full movie or anything. He just only whatever is going to be entertaining, and that's it. And to his credit, that's what made Guardians of the Galaxy work. But it's also why the other two Guardians of the Galaxy movies failed, in my opinion. I feel like he got too arrogant and stopped letting other people help him. Which I don't know how much they helped him in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. But that was kind of my thought through a lot of this, and a lot of the lines of dialogue and a lot of the choices that were made was did you just never ask anybody for input on any of it?
That's why some of the few people who criticize this movie, because this movie is actually very well received, well over 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7 out of 10 on IMDb. This is generally considered a good movie that people enjoyed. But some of the critics were like, James Gunn had too much creative control. There was no one there to tell him, maybe don't do this, maybe do something else instead. He's credited as the writer and director.
Mm-hmm.
There may have been other people helping him, to your question, but I think this is pretty much, they just let him do whatever the hell he wanted.
Which goes back and forth because that was actually, going back to Snyderverse, that was one of the problems is people got too involved in it and they didn't let him make the movie he was trying to make, which I would say was better.
Yes, exactly. And to your point is like what I had been rambling about earlier, the things that they skipped over, especially the skipping over the Clark Kent of it all and all that stuff. The movie is only a little over 2 hours long. So there were pockets of time where you could have done stuff. What were put into those pockets of time? Humor gun.
Yeah.
Because that's what we started to get into right from the very beginning of the movie. Superman gets his ass kicked and he's lying in the snow, bleeding, and he whistles. And as soon as I saw Krypto running towards him, I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
And I like Krypto and I love dogs. And I hated every fucking Krypto scene.
Yep.
But it was right from the beginning. It's like, fuck, the James Gunn, the humor gun of this is going to hurt this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And not that Krypto's the only thing. But what do you have on Krypto?
Yeah. For me, again, liking Krypto to start with, I wasn't as immediate as you. Saw him running. I'm like, oh, sweet. We're going to get a Krypto. And then you see Krypto. I'm like, well, that's not what Krypto looks like. And then he just kind of started jumping around playing. I'm like, ah, shit. That's not Krypto. And every time he's in the movie, every single scene that dog's in the movie, I'm like, that's not fucking Krypto. That's you're ruining it again.
I agree with your point. It wasn't so much when I saw Krypto running towards him as once you saw the Krypto that was in the movie. It's like, if it was the Krypto that we like and that a lot of people love from comics and animation, it would have been better. But this is just annoying comic relief.
And I was trying to figure out, like why would they do this? And it's like, he designed the Krypto character off of his own dog. I'm like, why not design the Krypto character after the Krypto character? It's already written. It's there. People know it. It's great. Everybody loves Krypto.
Exactly.
Sorry.
It's like dumbed down humor. Yes, people love dogs. I love dogs. People can relate to an unruly dog. But it was just like dumbed down general audience humor. And if it was like one or two brief things, Krypto is in the movie way too much and is essentially annoying at all times. So that's not the only humor guy. So think of like all of the, again, it's not like he's on screen a lot, but it's like, that's one example of take that out and do something with some of the other things I was complaining about, or do something else other than that. Then you had like, I already kind of complained a little bit about the Justice Gang. I actually liked Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific was the only one of the Justice Gang I liked. And Mr. Terrific actually had the only action sequence in the entire movie that I thought was good. When he goes to the camp with Lois to investigate, that entire action sequence, fantastic.
I agree.
And I thought Mr. Terrific in general, fantastic portrayal.
Yeah.
I did not like, I already said, I already don't like Guy Gardner anyway. So it's not Nathan Fillion's fault or even James Gunn's fault. It's like, yep, that's Guy Gardner. I don't like him.
Yeah.
But Hawk Girl, it's just like she flew around and screamed a lot.
Yeah, the scream got me and I think the scream comes from like the animated series and stuff. Because whenever she was coming in, you'd hear like a scream, and then and then that's how you knew she was coming.
Right.
I don't ever remember her screaming in people's faces and stuff all the time. I don't think it was necessary. Like, she's not Banshee. She doesn't need to scream to fly. I don't know what's going on with any of that. Otherwise, I kind of liked her. I like that she had personality. I like that she kind of did her thing. But I don't know. I always kind of saw her as more regal.
Yeah.
And in this movie, she's just, I'm just here to hit things.
And the other thing, to go back to my rant about the whole war that they stopped. So Superman explains at the beginning that he went out of his way to make sure nobody got hurt when he intervened. Pretty much seemed like, because he sent the Justice Gang, well, mainly he sent Green Lantern and Hawkgirl, and then Metamorpho helps out too, but they go to intervene. Really seems like Guy Gardner did not give a fuck if he hurt or killed any of the invading army. But Hawkgirl straight up fucking murders the world leader that Superman threatened with cactus torture. She straight up fucking murders him. No one seemed to give a shit about that either. Because she grabs him, flies him straight up in the air, and he's like talking shit. It's like, oh, you're not going to do anything. You're soft like Superman. And she's like, I'm not like Superman. Bye-bye. And she just drops him, and he falls to his death.
Yeah.
Which again, was that necessary? No. Did she murder him? Yes. Was it addressed or acknowledged? No. So why? So the Guy Gardner and Hawkgirl intervention was far fucking worse than the Superman intervention, and they say nothing about it.
So I was okay with the Hawkgirl part of it just because that does fit the character. But to your point, Guy Gardner's like, I'm here to protect Earth from aliens. And he's out there just like murking armies, just throwing tanks around on top of people and everything. Like just, oh, okay, we're going to make peace by killing everybody over there.
And again, I understand how difficult it is to do Green Lantern in live action without his powers looking fucking stupid.
Yeah.
This is the nature of it, but it was somewhat funny, but also stupid. How did he beat those armies and the things? Is by creating green middle fingers. He kept just green flipping, all the tanks were flipping over and stuff like that.
One of them would have been okay, but the fact that it kept happening, I'm like, all right. Imagine that. You ran a joke into the ground.
Plus the fact, again, I don't mean to jump around too much, but so Lex Luthor is having a conversation with the Department of Defense trying to say, oh, we can't trust Superman. Let me take over being the Guardians of Earth. I have a metahuman. I have this other thing that I created. I have these robotic Iron Men flying things called Raptors. I should be in charge of stuff. And I'm like, well, we're not sure. It's said a couple of times. We have Max Lord, who's basically like the good Lex Luthor. The Justice Gang is funded by Max Lord. Because even when they show up early in the beginning, even Guy Gardner's like, hey, brought to you by Lord Industries. So another billionaire is funding a metahuman team that is acting without any type of government oversight and doing extra legal, doing whatever the hell they want. And no one in the movie says a fucking thing about it.
But when Superman does something, he's representing the United States of America.
Why? Because he lives in the U.S.? That's why I was like, again, I'm sorry to jump ahead. Like,
I think he doesn't even live in the U.S. He lives in Antarctica. Can seriously? Sorry.
I feel an Arctic rant coming on. Channel it, Mike. Let it go.
Let the fucking North Pole. It's always been the North Pole.
But that's where Santa lives.
They didn't even have a key. Sorry. Proceed, sir.
So I was saying, so nobody had any concerns. Now, and I understand there is a comic book basis to this. Max Lord, in one of the mini comic runs, Max Lord does help create Justice League International. Because he's basically a billionaire. He's kind of a slimy businessman, but he has somewhat of altruistic intentions. And he actually goes and negotiates with the United Nations to say, hey, we should have some oversight. We should have the superheroes should have to be involved with you, and they shouldn't just be running around doing things. We should formalize this somehow. So if at the end of the movie, they at least had something like that, like Superman or Max Lord or someone saying, okay, right, that was wrong what we did. Let's find a way to have a dialogue where we will coordinate with world leaders in terms of when should we intervene and when should we not? Do we need your approval or oversight or anything like that? But that entire plot just gets fucking dropped. If all they did was that, just have like a conversation. I don't mean like a whole plan and create the Justice League, but acknowledge that you did nothing with that entire plot line. And it's not just a Superman problem, it's also a Justice Gang problem.
But it's entertaining.
The other stuff of Humor Gun that was wasted, the whole mutant toes thing that you mentioned earlier, the dumbest, most convenient plot telling.
Yeah.
Just so that they could have a way for Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen to break a news story to reveal that Lex Luthor was the evil mastermind behind something. Lex Luthor would not have that much of a fucking dumbass girlfriend. And if he did, she would be in a fuck pad someplace and would never be anywhere near where she could take selfies and capture his super secret plans in the fucking background. It's like,
there's no way he would allow the selfies.
No fucking way. So that, but again, it's so stupid. And also the whole mutant toes, and like Jimmy Olsen is apparently a fucking ladies' man. In this movie, it's just like, what the fuck stupid ass shit is this? And it kept going back to it and then having that be like, oh, well, Lois looked up some things on Google, so she did some investigative reporting. He's like, wow, this is so fucking bad.
Yeah.
Just to try to show us like, oh, they figured it out that Lex Luthor was behind it all. It's like, yeah, that was, again, that idea wasn't bad to have them do investigative journalism, but to have it wrapped up in just comedy bits was stupid.
Well, even the little one-liners, too, drove me nuts. Like, towards the end of the movie when Mr. Terrific's like, hey, you gonna come help me with this? Like, I'm doing very important things. That ridiculous. And that it's not that Superman doesn't tell jokes either. He's not funny like that. I mean, that wasn't even funny, but that's not the way Superman is funny. Superman is funny in the way that he tries to tell a joke and it's just a terrible joke. It's like a dad joke, only worse. And that's where Superman's funny.
Right. And then the only other thing I had down is this sort of like dumb gun humor was, hey, did you guys see the Suicide Squad movie where I created a giant kaiju and made people fight it? Well, just in case you forgot, I'm going to put a giant kaiju in the background so that while Lois and Superman are trying to have a serious conversation, out the window, the Justice Gang is going to be fighting the kaiju.
After they already fought a kaiju earlier.
Yes.
And joked about kaiju steak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which was one of the...
To your point, James Gunn just a lot of the same beats over and over again in every movie.
For me, I mean, I'm sure the general audience probably laughed at that. Not only was that just wasted screen time, I didn't even find... Like, when Gunn makes jokes in his movies that are funny, I appreciate it. I didn't find any of that funny. I just found it was like wasted screen time and not really good humor.
Right, I agree. And especially when the giant kaiju in the background is basically the exact same kaiju as in Suicide Squad. And in case you weren't aware that he made Suicide Squad, he threw Peacemaker in there. And a little cameo just to kind of point out that Superman's jealous because he's not as jacked as him.
And also that it starts to trail off because it pans across and you see Peacemaker doing an interview for a bit. But he also thought, oh, it's really stupid that Superman doesn't kill people. That's a dumb rule. But that was one of the other minor things that was at least, again, playing up one of the other things about Superman writing the Blue Boy Scout. So when like the giant kaiju that starts out small and becomes really big, that just looks like the Stitch monster from Lilo and Stitch. The Justice Gang shows up and Superman's like, well, we got to find a way to contain this. And maybe I can bring it to like an interstellar zoo or something. And Mr. Truth is like, come on, man. We're just going to fucking kill it. And they do. The whole idea is like, because that's in that same sequence where Superman goes out of his way to save a squirrel.
Right.
In the middle of a fight against this giant monster, which they then do kill.
Which, again, to be Superman, he could have at least gone to the guy and been like, hey, can you just make a cage around it and we'll take it somewhere else?
Yeah, then I'll fly it out into space or something like that. Yeah. Exactly.
We got to kill it by poking it in the eyes a lot. I don't know what the hell James Gunn has with eyes. There's a lot of eyeball fetish stuff going on in this movie.
Yeah, because at one point, like, Hawk Girl gets her, like, mace stuck in it, and she's yelling at guys like, I'm getting blinked to death over here, asshole. So then the Green Lantern opens up the eye and is poking. It's like, why? What the fuck? Again, it's like, it's supposed to be an action sequence, and it's basically largely Superman saving people from getting hurt. But the rest of the action until Mr. Terrific blows it up from the inside is pretty much comedy.
Yeah.
It's not a good action sequence. It's just done for laughs.
Well, then they also, again, going back to the eyes, when the engineers trying to smother Superman, they make a very specific point about covering his eye very slowly and doing other eyeball things. I don't know, man.
One of the other things, again, at a high level, it made sense. Like when they were putting together the ideas for the story, one of the other things that come up a lot in Superman stories is like the collateral damage to people who are getting hurt or possibly killed when Superman is fighting, and then the massive amount of property damage that also was happening, which was both part of like why Batman got mad at Superman and Batman v Superman with the stuff that happened at the end of Man of Steel. In the first fight where Superman fought Ultraman and got his ass kicked twice, they have in the story is like, oh, there were minimal injuries, but Jimmy Olsen's like, but there was like $20 million of property damage. In the fight at the end, yeah, sure, they called for a non-voluntary evacuation of Metropolis. But fucking thousands of people, at least, in Metropolis had to have fucking died.
Oh, yeah.
In that final fight. And billions of dollars of property damage had to be done. Like, no one should fucking live in Metropolis anymore. It should be a fucking ghost town of destroyed buildings.
Which, of all the things that were terrible about the ending, it really drove me nuts. Like, oh, okay, we stopped this rift from happening. So now everything's just going to magically go right back together again. What the fuck?
Not even bothering to have us be like, oh, here's Green Lantern helping rebuild stuff, or here's Superman. No, Superman's like, I'm going to go take a fucking sun nap. Yeah, whatever, bye. It's like, so no interaction whatsoever with that. Yeah, Metropolis gets fucking destroyed. And again, thousands of people had to have died. Easily thousands of people had to have died. And many, 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 many people had to have gotten hurt.
Yeah, and like all the buildings are ruined in the entire city, basically.
Mm-hmm. And the thing I really didn't like I said earlier, is like the only action scene that I thought was any good was the Mr. Terrific scene earlier on the island. All of the action in the already anticlimactic ending sucked. Like I've only watched the movie twice. I still do not understand. So you mentioned the engineer is like trying to choke Superman to death with the nanites, and Ultraman and her are there. How, with the two of them on top of him, he flies. At first, I thought maybe he was going to fly up into space to get some extra sunbeams or something.
Mm-hmm.
He just flies up into space and then falls and then crashes. And somehow that gets them off of him. Because like Lex Luthor even screamed in the middle, like, oh, he's the only one who will be immune to the fall. It's like he was basically saying he was seconds away from suffocating to death. How did that?
The way he said it is because the nanites were encasing him, so he's protected from the fall from the nanites.
Okay.
That was what he was trying to say. And when he knocked her out by doing that, she lost control of the nanites and he was able to pull it out.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it was. But again, that gets to why I think the engineer was a stupid character.
That at least helps me understand what happened in that scene. I still think it was stupid.
Yeah.
Yep. And then she's conveniently just unconscious and off the board. And then we have the whole Ultraman stupidity. This is not just the ending of the movie, but also the beginning. The fucking idea is that Ultraman is revealed to be a clone of Superman, something that happens a lot in the comic books. Okay. But the idea that Lex Luthor can just call the plays. Oh, do like A1, T13, B17 to call out the combat moves that Ultraman would use to fight against Superman? Fucking stupid. Superman has super speed. His reaction time, by the time Lex Luthor is done saying, do A1, Superman has done like fucking 1,000 things to Ultraman.
Right.
Like the only thing that would have been remotely believable is if they said, oh, we built an AI that analyzed all of the Superman fights, and the AI connected to a supercomputer can feed instructions to Ultraman even faster than Superman's brain works. And that's why this is working. Would have been a little bit more believable, but Lex just calling the plays, fucking stupid.
Yeah, fully agree.
And then at the end, oh, Superman probably figures out, oh, you're talking to him and telling him what to do, and these cameras that are floating around are how are you doing it? Hey, Crypto, get the toy. Fuck you.
Well,
not you specifically. Sorry. Fuck the movie. I was flipping off James Gunn, not you.
Oh, it seemed very directed towards me. What got me about that wasn't so much I was okay with the get the toy.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, he gets one of them. Where if we establish that Crypto would just go from 1 to 1 to 1 to 1 and not just like fuck the one over until it was toast completely?
Oh, because
we just keep dropping it, go to the next one, drop it, go to the next one.
Because we saw him go after the T-spheres earlier when Mr. Terrific. One of them. I know. Yeah. Again, exactly. It's like it was stupid when he went after the T-spheres. No, it will be great. Let's do it again.
Well, we had to set it up to show that he would do that with the T-spheres. Yeah, and sometimes Crypto will do what he's told when we need him to, but other times we can't get him to do nothing right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Just so much of the movie is stupid, and I get turn your brain off. It can be entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, maybe, But even that, just watching it, like I get done with it and I'm just like, I could have gone without watching that.
I'm ripping it apart because I rewatched it for the podcast. These things didn't go through my head while I was watching it in the theater. I was just like, I just don't enjoy this. Before we get into the last part of the garbage ending, one of the other things about Lex Luthor that kind of annoyed me is when Lex kills the guy. So he's basically playing Russian roulette. So when he has Superman is in his pocket universe prison and Metamorpho is created kryptonite to disable Superman, he's trying to get information out of Superman to interrogate him. And he basically has like the falafel guy or whatever, like the street vendor who had fed Superman food once is being used as like, you tell me blah, 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 whatever information he's trying to get out of Superman. And that guy, to his credit, is being incredibly heroic. He's like, don't tell him anything, Superman. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. It's okay. Don't tell him anything. Because you play in Russian roulette. He puts one bullet and he spins the chamber of the gun. And then after like 2 pulls of the trigger, it goes off. He kills the guy. And Lex is just like, oh, I thought that would have gone on longer. I thought that was a weirdly dark moment in a movie that was kind of otherwise trying to be silly and campy.
Yeah, I kind of had that same feeling with a lot of the cursing that was in the movie.
Okay.
It's like, yeah, that really felt out of place.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay with that because it established that Lex does not care about people, which they established that a lot of times. But, you know, you can establish it in one way of saying like, oh, yeah, they said something bad about me, so they're in prison forever. Yeah, that's pretty terrible. But also the completely unfeeling, I just murdered somebody and I don't care. All right, nothing will stop Lex from doing what he needs to do. That I understood, and I was actually okay with that. In second watching, I was actually kind of ready to hate that scene because I'm like, okay, 1 out of 6, 2 shots is going to kill him. Come on. But he shows him like respin it. So it was a 1 out of 6 chance every time. So then I was like, all right, I was okay with that. It's not great. It's unimaginative.
It's unimaginative, and I just thought it put an extra unnecessary layer of violence into the Lex Luthor character.
Yeah.
Just to kill.
Which he should have had somebody else doing that for him.
Like a henchman or something like that.
Like
but also like,
Otis.
or again, what was even the point of the interrogation of him?
Well, it was setting up that he was going to go after, they're going after Clark, quote unquote. But the way he was saying it made it sound like he was going to start going after Lois and then said Clark at the end. You're like, oh, okay, he's going to be fine. Yeah, that's a good point because they never even do anything with that either. Like there's no like callback of like, bring me Kent. Where is Kent? You know, nothing of like him struggling to find Clark in order to after him next.
Well, I mean, again, Clark Kent completely disappears from the movie because even when when Lois is flying the incredibly intuitive and easy to fly Mr. Terrific spaceship and gets everybody out of the Daily Planet, no one seems to be concerned about, hey, where's Clark? Has anybody seen Clark? Is he okay? No, he just disappears from the movie.
Speaking of that ship, of course they have to do the, oh no, it's going to fall off the side of the building. Oh, it flew away after it fell. Why? Why does every fucking movie have that?
So the other part of the ending of the movie that was garbage to me, other than this, like the anticlimactic way that he breaks Ultraman's arm and throws him into the rift. So now he's bye-bye. And then you get the why Superman is so boring to write for. Then all of the Raptors, for no particular reason, all of the Iron Man robots come flying in. And Superman just flies up and just spins around with his laser eyes and fucking obliterates them all in 2 seconds.
Which started bothering me because those are actually people in Iron Man outfits.
I thought, are they people or are they robots?
No, they're people.
Well, then that's even worse.
Because they show because remember earlier when Mr. Terrific's fighting them and they like some of them had their masks down.
Oh, that is even worse.
So it's like, oh, yeah, so he just murdered all of them. But then they do show, like, as they land, like, they were all still moving and stuff afterwards. I'm like, they tried to make it seem like he wasn't murdering them all, but he basically murdered them all.
But the really, really garbage ending for me is let's have Superman and Lex Luthor not do an exposition dump, but an exposition scream! Where basically they just scream at each other for a few. Most of the screaming is Lex Luthor. And again, an acknowledgement of James Gunn did capture the comic book and other source material basis of that Lex Luthor is very envious of Superman, didn't like the fact that Lex Luthor's supremacy on Earth as a human has been threatened and displaced because of Superman's arrival, and also the general sense that Superman is a meta-human threat to the planet. but he just has Lex to scream, essentially, in case you were turning your brain off to try to enjoy the movie, Lex will scream at you the entire plot of the movie and why he did everything he did. And then Superman will scream back, "Why, nice, because I'm a human, and that's where my strength comes, and I really hope that one day you realize that's where your strength comes from, too, Lex."
That was a perfect depiction of Superman.
But that's, again, to your earlier point of him trying to do the Kansas farm boy, aw shucks, human, not really alien, and that's what, can't we all just hug and be in love, man, shit? It's like, from where? Based on what?
Yeah.
But I mean, that entire scene, though, this like encapsulates the entire story of the movie, but it's largely Lex that's screaming at him, and he's partially screaming back. But it's just like, wow, I've never seen an exposition scream before.
That's a good point. Where's the dog?
That was actually even stupider earlier in the movie. Like, obviously, they're trying to capture footage of him acting crazy after he was just accused of being crazy. It's like, obviously, he walks into a trap. But, I mean, he doesn't even fucking like the dog in the movie. But it's just one of those things that's like, again, the idea, not bad.
Yeah.
The execution of the idea, not good.
Well, it was definitely executed.
It was definitely executed.
Yeah, what else you got about the ending?
Pretty much I already kind of like said it earlier, the fact that all of the good things about the storytelling that were set up never get paid off at the end. Again, the movie ends with Superman having apparently learned no lesson and no comeuppance or anything about him intervening in world affairs. Because again, it's a good Superman question. It's like, sure, take out the supervillains, deal with meteors falling on Earth. That war that he stopped, there's wars happening all the time. Is he just going to intervene and stop all wars on the planet from happening? Should he be allowed to do that? Shouldn't he have even been like, hey, U.S. government, you turned me over to Lex Luthor to be fucking tortured and killed. Should we have a little come to Jesus moment and talk about, hey, are we on the same team or something? No, we're not even going to address it.
Well, and also to your point there, like that's a common conversation about Superman is you have the ability to stop all wars. Why don't you? And, you know, his answer is like, I'm not here to tell you how to govern, you know, that kind of thing. To your point, they never address that. Like, why that war and not other wars? Well, they were going to kill people. Yeah, that's what happens in war.
Exactly. There should have been like a dozen countries saying, hey, we had all sorts of like wars and genocide and stuff. You didn't stop any of those.
Right.
Why did you stop this one war? So yeah, so that doesn't come up. And again, like we said, that in all of the Superman was sent here to conquer us. Oh, Superman's a hero again. So you're just forgetting the fact that video said he was sent to conquer us?
I mean, to your point, I think maybe that's why at the end of it, like I just felt nothing and I didn't really get, because to your point, I think to sum up everything that you're just saying is everything is surface level. There's no depth to any of it whatsoever. They just kind of skim the surface and they kind of point at things that have depth, but they never really go into any of it and they never solve anything.
Yeah, that's my main closing remarks about the movie. Is like, obviously you can tell from our conversation, I did not enjoy the movie. But the reason I think I'm most irritated by it is it could have been at least an okay movie. Because like I said, the storytelling ideas of the movie are better than the movie itself. And almost all of the serious or good or even comic book accurate questions that the movie raises are all left completely unresolved at the end of the movie. That's why the movie sucked to me. In addition to all the other things we complained about, it was like they could have landed the plane, so to speak, if they had actually even in the most superficial way addressed some of these things at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I actually wrote almost the same thing. I put aspects of the movie are really good, but the final product isn't. One of the things I was thinking about while I was watching, I was like, on paper, like listing things out, like it should be a good movie. And that's probably why a lot of people liked it so much, is it really should be a good movie. My conclusion of the whole thing when I came out is like, I think I just don't like James Gunn.
I had the same feeling because I liked the Suicide Squad. I liked the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I really liked the first season of Peacemaker. Could not get past the first 2 episodes of its second season because that was after he took over DC. And now having seen this movie, it's just like, I don't think I'm going to like James Gunn being in charge of DC. But to your point, I have to question, do I really even like James Gunn?
Yeah. To your point, kind of going through the same things. Like, I don't really like Guardians of the Galaxy movies. First one was okay. I hated the other two. Suicide Squad, I liked the first one better than the second one, but because it was kind of like what I say about Thor, like I just separate them. Like, that's just not actual Suicide Squad. I can just enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, they tried to make it more realistically Suicide Squad-ish. And as we joked about, Suicide Squad of the Galaxy, didn't really like that. Peacemaker, okay, mildly entertaining. I don't really like it, but it's a thing. It's okay. Like, I can shut off my brain and enjoy it because I don't know that character.
That's the point. Those are the types of
'Cause I don't know the
James Gunn
character.
stuff. Well, no, I mean, those are James Gunn things where you can shut off your brain and just enjoy it, in part because you don't care what comes next or if anything does come next.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the reboot of the DC universe. I have no interest in seeing what comes next in this story.
Which we'll see next week.
Well, I mean, even then, the next thing we're going to go see is Supergirl, which is still kind of like more of like a standalone story and kind of a comic book adaptation. Because you couldn't even argue that. It's like, where was Supergirl in this movie? She shows up at the end drunk to get her dog. She would have been kind of helpful to have around. This is a week before the premiere of Supergirl, so who knows? But from my perspective, it seems like it's going to be very much a standalone story. And then maybe the character of Supergirl might come back into whatever is coming next in what Gunn's doing with the DC universe.
Yeah.
But based on this movie, it's like, I have no confidence that it's going to be good.
Yeah, the most depressing part for me on all that is that once this fails, we have to go through another reboot of the whole thing.
Because it's also frustrating to me to always have to restart again. Because we have this weird thing is like, Batman is still Matt Reeves right now. So the Robert Pattinson...
That's not connected to this universe.
It's not connected to this universe.
No.
But that's still making... There's still another movie planned of that.
Yep.
So that makes it even like more confusing to me. It's like, not that Batman has to be there, but it's like, when you talk Superman and you talk about the Justice something, one of the obvious questions is, what about Batman? So now are we going to have at some point a James Gunn Batman and a Matt Reeves Batman in theaters at the same time?
My understanding is the second Matt Reeves one is going to be the last one.
Okay.
Because they almost didn't even do the second one. I don't know. We'll see. I kept getting things spoiled too much. I stopped looking at anything coming up to it as much as possible. So I really don't know what they're going to end up doing.
Like, this wouldn't have been a great way to do it, but I almost would have liked to have said, sure, recast the actors if you want to for various reasons. But why not just have this be the new Justice League? Have there be a Superman, a Batman, and other characters? Why do we have to reboot a Superman story, especially since they only partially did it? This Superman could have just been Superman in some Justice League thing, and we just could have told a story. As well as the fact that you can tell, if you want to reboot it, but also seem a little bit new, do a Justice League thing that doesn't focus on Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, or The Flash. Even if you only use the new 52, you still have 47 other members of the Justice League that you could focus on. And then the recast Fab Five that I just mentioned can just show up in like the second or third movie and be involved in the story. Why didn't we not just do that?
So I initially went, oh yeah, do a Justice League movie without the Justice League. That'd be great. But to your point, they could do kind of like they did in Young Justice where, they're all off-world handling something.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to figure this shit out, and then they come back at the end.
Exactly. Why? Because the entire rush to get to the Justice League that DC did is they were trying to catch up to Marvel. Okay, you stumbled and it didn't quite work. But this to say, we have a Justice League now. And just tell some other stories instead of now, we're going to have to wait like another 4 or 5 movies before you get a Justice League? And then why fuck with the Justice Gang shit? It's like this fucking jump to something else.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really understand why the Justice Gang was even in this movie. Just tell a Superman story.
Well, because they had to have multiple things and show that he can't be everywhere all at once. So what does he do about it?
Because they chose to tell a Superman story where he wasn't all powerful and couldn't take care of everything by himself.
Yeah.
But they still could have done a better job with the other stuff. Like we said again, our final thought was the ideas of this movie are not bad. The execution of it was bad. So on paper, this movie should have been better, or at least have been good. And it turned out to be not even enjoyable.
Can we wrap it up? I don't want to talk about it anymore.
And on that incredibly hopeful note, thank you for listening to The Fanboy and the Hater. Please check out our archives to listen to some of our past episodes, including a very good episode with Mike and guest host Reese talking about the character of Superman in depth. And please join us every Thursday for a brand new episode.